Raghunathanvitam tam sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshikarine Hare Krishna. So we are coming to the conclusion of the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the final verses where Krishna is going to speak and reveal the most confidential knowledge or the most Krishna will disclose the most secret so that the living entity can get the maximum benefit. What is the purpose of Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita? Is to enable the living entity attain perfection of human form of life. So we saw in the verses from 54 and 55th, Krishna is talking about confidential knowledge. Again, he is summarizing the confidential knowledge. And what is the confidential knowledge? In this part, he is talking about Brahman realization. Brahma Bhuta Prasanna. For one who has realized the self, for him, there is no suffering. And then he even gives higher platform of higher than the Brahman platform is the platform of devotee who performs devotional service. As he enters into the mystery of my kingdom. And then how the devotee acts, he gives further in 3 verses 56, 57, and 58. And then he also cautions Arjuna that if you do not act as per my order, and if you do not fight under my protection, if you are misguided by your false ego, then by your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. And if you refuse to fight, you will be lost. And in the 61st verse, Krishna is speaking that how the living entities are completely under the control of the Supreme. They're not independent. 61st verse we discussed, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Ide Deshe Arjuna Tishtati. And in conditioned stage, what is their state? They are completely controlled, not directly by Krishna, but by the external energy of Krishna, which is Maya Shakti, in the form of the 3 modes. And these 3 modes are like the 3 strings. Like the puppeteer controls the puppet by the strings. Similarly, the Maya Shakti, the external energy, it controls each and every living entity. Like dolls are moving by string. he engages them in action by his energy, which is external energy, like dolls moving by springs. So now Krishna is giving his own view. Krishna is giving more confidential knowledge of the Antaryami Paramatma. First, he gave about the Brahma stage, and now he's talking about the Paramatma stage. That is verse number 61. We have discussed 61, and now he's talking about 62. So in the 61, he says that the Lord who is seated in the heart, what does he do? By his own Shakti. Which Shakti? Bahiranga Shakti, Maya. He makes all living entities engage in their respective actions. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani. And the living entities are like artificial doll attached to the device with strings. And they are controlled by Maya. Or another meaning is all living entities mounted in their bodies are made to move by Maya. So what to do if we are completely captivated and controlled by Maya? Although Krishna is seated in the heart. So in the next verse, Krishna is giving his view what such conditioned soul must do. Verse number 62. Tamev sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shanti sthanam prapyasi shashvatam. Tamev sharanam gaccha. Who sharanam? One who is seated in the heart. Ishvara sarva bhutana. Ida desha arjuna tishtati. The previous verse Krishna said. So Krishna says that as the super soul, he is seated in the heart, he is the super soul of every individual. So what the individual should do? O Siyan of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. Utterly means desperately. And Tat Prasadat, by his grace, Param Shanti, you will attain transcendental peace and Sthanam Prapyasti Shashvatam, and the supreme and eternal abode. That means you will be free from all misfortune and sufferings. So surrendering process is inevitable. Whether one surrenders to Paramatma or one who is elevated, he surrenders to the Supreme Lord. Without surrender, there is no relief for the living entity. Otherwise, he will continue remaining under the captivity of the illusionary energy, and he will be transmigrating from one body to another body. Let us see the purport. A living entity should therefore surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. So this is more confidential knowledge. Confidential knowledge was Brahma Bhut Prasannatma. Here he is talking about Tat Prasadat Param Shanti. So to be able to achieve that eternal peace, that transcendental peace, surrendering process is inevitable. Who is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve him for all kinds of miseries of this material existence. In the 15th chapter also we discussed what is the surrendering process Krishna spoke. Very famous verse. Every day we are reciting that verse. Why it is taking so much of time? What is the verse? It should be immediately spoken. Below which verse is this? Surrendering process in the 15th chapter. No one is speaking as if they have, for the first time we are discussing. Entire month we are repeating the same verses. Still people are not confident. Yes, Pranav. What happened? Electricity has gone.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Use your mobile light.
Prabhuji, Nirmano Moha Jita Sangha Dosha.
Yes, it is Nirmana Moha Jita Sangha Dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama. Sange vimukta sukha dukha sange gachanti mudaha padam avyayam. So that avyaya is place. That place which is inexhaustible, that place which is of no return. So one has to give up the mana and moha. Nirmana. Mana means the false ego. Unless and until one gives up the false ego, there is no question of surrender. What does surrender mean? Surrender means to give up one's ego and to submit. To the extent one is motivated and guided or on the platform of false ego, it is impossible for him to surrender. Unless and until one is sufficiently subdued his false ego, there is no question of submission or surrender. This is where people get stuck. The conditioned soul is heavily stuck. Why? Because he is guided by his false ego. He is not guided by the Supreme. So Prabhupada is saying, by such surrender, not only will one be released from all miseries in this life, but at the end he will reach the Supreme God. The transcendental world is described in the Vedic literature Ritve as Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam. Since all the creation is the kingdom of God, everything material is actually spiritual. But Paramam Padam specifically refers to the eternal abode, which is called the spiritual sky or Vaikuntha. We have seen that Prabhupada has explained it many times. That is the Sanatan sky or the Sanatan abode, which is eternal, imperishable, and reaching there, one does not return. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Sarvasya Chaham Hidya Sannivishto. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender into the super soul situated within means that one should surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Prabhupada is very kind. Prabhupada does not allow his follower or reader to go to any level of realization lower than the highest realization. Krishna is talking about super soul, but Prabhupada is guiding the jiva to Krishna. So Prabhupada is see Prabhupada's compassion. Prabhupada is saying that so this recommendation that one should surrender into the super soul situated, that is super soul is Paramatma. Within me that one should surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The Prabhupada is giving a higher goal. That don't just surrender to Supreme Super Soul. A Super Soul is the extension of the Supreme Lord. So one should surrender to the source, not to the extension or expansion. Krishna has already been accepted by Arjuna as the Supreme. He was accepted in the 10th chapter as Param Brahma, Param Dhama. Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Abode of all living entities. Not only because of this, of his personal experience, but also because of the evidence of various authorities like Narad, Asit, and Deval and Vyasa. So this verse explains the purpose of the knowledge just revealed by Krishna. Take shelter of that Lord, you will attain the cessation of both Vidya and Avidya, which I'm talking about. Tat Prasadat Param Shanti. And then you will attain my eternal place, Shashvatam Sthanam. That is Vaikuntha Lord. The surrender to the Antaryami is for worshipper of the Antaryami Paramatma. Whereas the worshippers of Bhagavan surrender to Bhagavan, which will be explained later. That is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment. But Srila Prabhupada is so compassionate. He does not wait for his reader to go to the next instruction. Right from the first verse of the first chapter, Prabhupada is giving a Sarv Dharmani Parityate. Krishna in the final chapter, in the final verses says Sarv Dharmani Parityate. But Srila Prabhupada's mission is from the first chapter, from the first verse, Prabhupada says Sarv Dharmani Parityate. That is the most compassionate and outstanding contribution of Srila Prabhupada. So many times these scholars, they will be bewildered. They don't accept Srila Prabhupada's commentary. Why? Because they do not know the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not to surrender to the super soul or to merge in the Brahma Jyoti. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, like Arjuna took shelter of Krishna. And Prabhupada is inspiring his reader, his follower, his disciple, and his well-wishers to the ultimate perfection, not to compromise to any less. Krishna Thakur is saying that they surrender to the Antaryami for the worshippers of Antaryami Paramatma, whereas the worshippers of Bhagwan surrender to Bhagwan, which will be explained later. Krishna will speak about it in the next coming verse. This is the opinion of some transcendent figures. Then the next verse, 63rd verse. Iti te jnanamakhyatam guhyat guhyataram maya nimishretat asheshena yatha ikshasi tatha kuru. Iti me jnanam akhyatam. So far I have given you that knowledge which is guhyat guhyataram maya, which is more confidential than the confidential knowledge. What is confidential knowledge? We have discussed so many times. What is confidential knowledge? Quickly, Prabhu. Yes, Ramya? Voice is not clear.
To the knowledge about soul.
Yes, Brahma Gyan. Knowledge about soul, distinction between matter and spirit, that is called the Brahma Gyan. That is, Satogun Gyan can reach up to Brahma Gyan. So that is confidential knowledge. Which chapter is this in Bhagavad Gita?
Second chapter, Prabhu.
Very good, perfect answer. Second chapter. Second chapter is confidential knowledge. And what is more confidential knowledge? The knowledge of the Jiva with the relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is more confidential knowledge. That is explained in these verses. And which chapters of Bhagavad Gita? 7th chapter, 8th chapter, more confidential knowledge. It talks about the Aishwarya Gyan of the Supreme Lord. And now Krishna says, deliberate on this fully. Thus I have explained to you the knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully. Also in the 15th chapter, Krishna says, Yasma sharam atitoham aksharada pichottama ato asmi log vedecha pratita purushottama jo mam evam sammudo janati purushottama sa sarvid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharat. Sarva bhavena bharata. Same. What Krishna is speaking here. Tamev sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata. Sarva bhavena. By all your hearts. And then he said, Iti guhyatamam shastra. Idam uktva mayana. What is the guhyatamam part of the shastra? We have discussed that in 15th chapter. Yes, Pradeep Prabhu, what is the guhyatamam part? Most confidential. See, there are 3 levels. Confidential, more confidential, and most confidential. Guhya, guhyataram, guhyatamam. 3 levels. So Guhya is Brahma Gyan, Guhyatara is Antaryami Paramatma, and then what is left? Guhyatamam. It should be, intelligent
Supreme
student.
Lord.
Yeah.
Supreme Lord.
In what form? Personal form. Supreme Lord is there in the form of Brahman also. Supreme Lord is there in the form of Antaratma also. But the personal feature, Bhagavan, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabda. So he is saying that I have given you, I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. This is how Krishna is detached. Krishna is never attached. After speaking the entire Bhagavad Gita, he is giving Arjuna the option that deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. This is the freedom which Krishna gives. The Lord has already explained to Arjuna the knowledge of Brahma Bhut. That is confidential knowledge. One who is Brahma Bhut condition is joyful. He never laments nor does he desire anything. That is due to his confidential knowledge. Here comes the point. Krishna also discloses knowledge of the super soul. This is also Brahma knowledge, knowledge of Brahman, but it is superior. So it becomes more confidential. Bhuyatara. Here the word Yatha Ikshasi Tatha Kuru, as you like, you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. So it is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Any time we can misuse our independence. And that is why we see in practice, in experience, many times the jiva, he just, turns away from Krishna. How? He can use his independence or he can misuse his independence anytime. And Krishna never forces. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice, so this is Krishna's advice to Arjuna, which he is giving. 1 minute, just 1 second. Sorry. The best advice. So Krishna is giving his advice to Arjuna, but he is not forcing his opinion. This is very important. In our practice of Krishna consciousness also, even if you become counselors or you become guide or even you become facilitators, we have to follow what Krishna does. We can tell the candidate or the aspirant what is good for him and leave it up to him. So the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto the super soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. That is by right discrimination. One who is a good soul will abide. But one who is engaged in sinful life is very difficult. His false ego will not allow him to submit and surrender. That is actually the punishment. And where is this punishment coming? This punishment is coming from the material nature. Because the jiva has to suffer. The jiva's suffering cannot be terminated. Because if he surrenders, then there is no question of suffering. So remaining unsurrendered ensures that he will suffer. So the best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender into the super soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfection stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to the supreme personality of Godhead is in the best interest of the living entity. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. This is very important. Many times we suggest aspirants, newcomers, that you please practice. They are thinking, what interest is this devotee going to get? What Prabhuji will get? What benefit he is going to get if he is suggesting to me? The Prabhupada is clearing here. This is not in the interest of Krishna. There is nothing to benefit to Krishna, but it will benefit definitely to the Jiva, to the living entity. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Before surrendering, one is to be free to deliberate on this subject as far as the intelligence goes. So nothing can be forced or should never be forced. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. So whatever is the advice, whatever is the guidance, or whatever is the order of the spiritual master, is the direct representative of the Supreme Lord. There are many verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna says, Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. One of the very important verses. Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. It is from the 11th canto. Manoram Prabhu, can you show that verse? Type Acharya, A-C-Y-A-R-A. There is no H. I hope by reading now Prabhupada's vocabulary, you would have got some hint. Prabhupada's vocabulary is completely different from the normal vocabulary. Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. Nav Sayed. Very good. Found it? Yes. Can you make the font a little bigger? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So Krishna says, Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. That you should know that I am the spiritual master. Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. Na avmanet karhichit. That you should never ever disrespect or disobey. Avmanet karhichit. Na marta buddhya asuyeta sarva devo maya guru. Come to the translation. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. He is Krishna, Acharya Mam. Okay, come back. So now Krishna will reveal the most confidential knowledge. In the next verse. Sarva guhya tamam bhuya shunu me paramam vacha ishto asime drinamati tato vakshyami te hitam. So Krishna is pouring his heart out and his love, affection and compassion for Arjuna and through Arjuna for all the human race. What is going to speak now? Sarva guhya tamam. The most confidential knowledge. Sarva means all. Guhya tamam means the most confidential. And he says bhuya. You remember the word bhuya? Krishna has used the word bhuya previously also. Very sweet. Very sweet word bhuya. Again. Why Krishna has to speak again? In the 10th chapter, Krishna says, same words. Yes. Pradeep Prabhu.
भूयेव महाबाहो शृणु मे परमं वचा यत्तेहं प्रेमानाय वक्ष्यामि यत् काम्यया.
See how much same the verse is. Shunu me paramam vacha. Bhuyeva mahabhav shunu me paramam vacha. Same wording. And then he says, Ishto asi me dridhamiti. And tato vakshyami te hitam. And why is Krishna speaking again? to get the highest benefit. Hit. Vakshyami te hitam, for the highest benefit of Arjuna, or to the highest benefit of the human race. And why he's speaking so? Ishto asime, because you are very dear to me. You are very close to me. Because you are my very dear friend. Same Krishna says in the 10th chapter, first verse. Bhuyeva mahabhao shunu me parama vacha yatteham priyamanaya. Priyamanaya means, Prabhupada is translating very, very extraordinary translation. Considering you to be dear to me. That is the highest success. If Krishna considers any jiva to be dear to him. Many jivas may consider Krishna dear to him. But the success is whom Krishna considers dear to him. And Arjuna is that fortunate soul. So here Krishna is again repeating. This is the revision. So Krishna is again repeating the most confidential knowledge. Why? Because Arjuna is such a confidential and close friend. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction. The most confidential knowledge of all, hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Although Krishna gave in the last verse the freedom, where he said, Yatha ikshasi tatha kuru. But many times you see, when you have overwhelming love for someone, like father for son, he may say that, okay, you decide what career you want to do, or you decide whom you will marry, or you decide where you will do the job. Ultimately, it is your life. But because out of his love, or because of his intimacy, he still does not hold his opinion. He said, I see in my father's case also, he does that every time. He says, करो आप जो करना है वो करो, लेकिन एक बार मेरी बात सुन लो, फिर आपको जो करना है कर लो. Why is he saying so? To influence me, not directly, at least indirectly. So here Krishna is saying that now I will reveal to you the most confidential knowledge and my instruction. And why I am speaking to you again? Because you may not end up doing anything else than what I desire from you. So he's saying this is actually only solely for your benefit. The Lord has given Arjuna knowledge that is confidential knowledge of Brahman, and still more confidential knowledge of Super Soul within everyone's heart. So all is being revised in the 18th chapter. And now he is giving the most confidential part of knowledge. Just surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the end of the 9th chapter, he said, Man mana, just always think of me. The same instruction is repeated here to stress the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. This essence is not understood by a common man. Yesterday we were discussing Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranita. Dharma Satatva Nihata Guhaya. So the common man can neither understand, nor accept, nor apply. It is just not possible. So the question was asked that if no one can understand religion, then what is the purpose of religion? What is the use of such religion? If nobody is able to know religion, Dharma Satatva Nihitam Guhaya. But it is so confidential that it is beyond the reach of the common man. Then what is the purpose of such a religion? Why to talk about such a religion? So what was the reply? What was the answer? Who remembers? Here Prabhupada is saying that the essence is not understood by a common man. When Krishna is so much saying that it is so confidential, so secretive, not accessible, what is the point of speaking Bhagavad Gita if no one can understand? What is the reply? What is the answer? You are hearing Bhagavad Gita, now you are coming to the end, you should be clear in the philosophical understanding. I have discussed that before also. Yes, Manoram Prabhu?
Prabhuji, if I remember correctly, that in one of the Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said that although the message given by Lord Krishna is hard to be accepted by those who are complex-hearted, means those who do not follow the principles. But those who follow the principle, Prabhuji, simple-hearted, for them it is easy. They can understand and progress.
Not very precise. Something in the same direction, but not precise. I explained that completely yesterday's class. And you are showing with the share. It is there in that purport. Clear. Yes, there should.
Prabhuji, Srila Prabhupada ji tells that if Lord wants to explain himself, then what is the difficulty in understanding?
No, Lord does not want to disclose. Krishna says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, Yogamaya Samavritam. No, I don't expect such a reply from you. You should be knowing the answer. So many times we have discussed. Yesterday I explained that in detail. Open that verse, Manoram. Dharma satatva hi niyata guvaya. Dharmam to sakshat Bhagavad pranita. Then the understanding is not clear. And we'll be again, bewildered. Well, come down. Prabhupada is saying here. 1 minute, wait. Real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although fully situated in the mode of goodness. Even the great rishis who occupy these topmost planets cannot ascertain their real religious principles. What to speak of rishis of this world, those who are in the topmost planet. Nor can the demigods, nor the leaders of Siddhaloka, not to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadharas and the Charanas. Then, what is the purpose of giving such a religion when it cannot be even understood by the topmost sages, the demigods and others? We'll come to the next verse. Yeah. So how to know this principle, which is so confidential? Come down. This is the same verse that we are discussing. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavad Dharma as the most confidential religious honor. Sarva Ghuyatamam Ghuyat Ghuyataram. This is what we are. Sarva Ghuyatamam. Same verse. Ghuyat Ghuyataram. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, I am explaining to you the most confidential religion. Then one may ask, if this principle is very rarely, wait. Please put your attention here. This is the point. If one may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamraj states herein that the real religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, 4 Kumaras and other standard authorities. These are the 4 lines. Close it. But I am extremely disappointed to see your ambiguity in your heart, still not having clarity. After so many years of practice and so many years of giving you the philosophy, talking all nonsense. Yesterday also I explained, Kim karma kim akarmeti kavyo api atmo. Never understand what is Coming in parampara means surrendering. The problem with the jiva is because of his false ego does not want to surrender.
Can you repeat, Prabhuji? In between, your audio had gone out.
And who does not surrender will know. But I don't know. So this is the most confidential part. Unless and until one is coming in the parampara, submitting and surrendering, there is no possibility to understand an iota of transcendental knowledge. Anyway, I can speak up to you whether you accept or not. To the extent you accept, you cannot forget. To the extent you fail to accept, you will always forget. Prabhupada is saying the essence is understood by a common man. For one who is actually weird in connection come close instructions of Bhagavad really.
This is not clearly audible.
What Krishna is saying is the most essential. Hare Krishna. Is it audible now?
Yes, sir. Can you repeat last 3 sentences?
So the common man, what to speak of common man? Krishna has already spoken that in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Na me vidu surgana, prabhavam na maharshya, aham adirhi devana, maharshinam cha sarvasha. So many times Krishna has spoken in Bhagavad Gita. That this knowledge which I am giving to you, my dear Arjuna, it is not even available to the demigods or even to the greatest and the topmost of sages in the topmost of planets. So why a devotee has the access which even such people in the perfectest stage don't have? Why? Because he's coming in parampara. Parampara means his own family. So what is the most confidence? These are like the two jewels, as Rukmini Krishna was very beautifully speaking when he spoke on the 18th chapter in our mantra of life presentation. He says that the Bhagavad Gita is compared to the jewel box. You have seen the jewel box? The jewel box has two covers, the top cover and the bottom cover. These are compared to the two sections of Bhagavad Gita, Karma and Jnana. And in the center is Bhakti, where the real value is. So that is the jewel box. And on top of the jewel box, there are two sparkling diamonds. And what are those diamonds? These are 65th and 66th verse, which is the essence of the essence of the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic literatures. Bhagavad Gita has 3 sections. The essence of it is Bhakti Yoga. That is the essence of the essence. And the essence of all Bhakti Yoga are these 2 verses. The final instructions of Krishna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namashku mameva shasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. So Krishna said, Bhuya. Sarva bhuyatamam bhuya. Shunu me paramam pacha. That bhuya means again, that which Krishna has already spoken. What Krishna spoke in the 9th chapter, final verse, is the first line of this verse is Manmana. So what Krishna is desiring from all of us is asking us to engage our mind in his service, to think of him. Krishna is not wanting our resources. Krishna is wanting our mind. Mayyeva mana adhatsava. What is the first verse of the 7th chapter? Maya sakta mana partha. So Krishna is again and again repeating. So the first thing Krishna says is man manaha. You engage your mind in me. How? By thinking of Krishna. So what it means to think of Krishna? Do nothing, sit idle, and think of Krishna. How Krishna is dressed today. What flowers are there? What jewelry is there? What paraphernalia is there? No. What it means to think of Krishna. Man mana. Always think of me. What it means that always think of me. Bolo, Dyashi. What it means always think of me.
Prabhuji, thinking of Lord Krishna's interest,
Yes.
which is coming
Thinking
through
of Lord Krishna's
representative.
interest, his instructions, his orders. And thinking of how to execute it, how to implement it, how to follow it. That is thinking of Krishna. Krishna did not tell Arjuna, you think of me and I will fight for you. No. What did Krishna say? Ma manusmara yuddhacha. Fighting you have to do on your own. But how to fight? Thinking of me. Fight is as a service, as an offering to me. The first thing Krishna is saying, whenever we are acting, whatever action we are performing, we should think whether it will please Krishna or not. If it will please Krishna, we should be very enthusiastic to perform that action. If it will not, then what is the purpose of performing that action? So behind every activity, this thought should be there. We should always be thinking of Krishna's interest, not try to replace Krishna and put our own selfish interest. That is not bhakti. That is bhukti. So man mana bhava mad bhakto. Who can think of Krishna? Who is a devotee of Krishna. So become my devotee. If you become my devotee, then you will think of me. You will think of my interest. Rather than Arjuna was thinking of his own interest. What is his interest? His interest is how I can be happy. And what we were thinking, how he can be happy? If he does not kill, if his relatives remain alive, then he can be happy. This is what the entire world is thinking. On the basis of skin disease. That is the happiness they are thinking. My son, my daughter, my father, my mother, my husband, my wife. They are very much absorbed in that relationship, that kind of activity. Krishna is saying, you think about me. How to think of Krishna? One who has become devotee. Devotee means whose heart is invested in Krishna. Where is our thought? About whom do we think? In normal course of life, where is our mind attached? Where we have attachment, where we have love. So unless and until we have attachment for Krishna, how can we think of Krishna? And how to develop attachment is to become his devotee. And how can one become his devotee? Madhyaji, worship me. So by worshipping Krishna, how to worship Krishna? By obeying his instruction, his orders, his directions. What did Krishna say? He will speak. The best form of worship is to study. Whoever studies Bhagavad Gita, he worships me by his intelligence. Highest form of worship. Okay, it is good that you are offering incense and lamp and flowers and garlands. If the deity, that is good. But the highest form of worship is that you align your heart, your desires and your activities according to Krishna's instruction. And Mam Namaskuru. How the worship begins? By offering obeisances. So 4 things. Prabhupada has given many times his discourse on this verse. Always think of me. How to always think of Krishna? Become my devotee. How to become Krishna's devotee? Worship me. How to worship you? Offer your homage unto me or obeisances unto me. Namaskuru, Prabhupada in the translation says obeisances. In the word-to-word meaning, Prabhupada says obeisances, and translation it is homage unto me. Then what will be the result? Mame Vaishyasi, you will come to me. You will reach me. Satyam te, without a doubt. In truth. Don't think that I am giving you any false notion. Krishna has to speak that. Why? Because the Kali Yuga Jeev is so much doubting. The element of doubt or apprehension is so deep in his heart that he does not believe the words of the Supreme Lord also. So Krishna has to say, Satyam te. So what I am telling you is eternally the truth. Then he says, Prati jane priyosi mein. So I promise you, Prati jane. Why? Priyosi mein. You are very priya. Priya means you are very dear. You are very near to me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Prabhupada says what we have to do in the practice of Krishna consciousness, 4 things. Man mana, bhavamad bhakto, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. Okay, I'll discuss this tomorrow. How many days we have? We have 15th, 16th and 17th. 17th is the last day. This is the most confidential verse of Bhagavad Gita. One who has understood and applied this, next verse is natural outcome. And one who has not understood and applied this, next verse is never possible. Okay, I'll stop here. Any question or clarification? Quickly. None idea. Nothing has gone in the head. Okay. Who will recite the 15th chapter today? Who has not recited so far? Pranav, you have recited?
No, Prabhuji, I want to recite.
Recite, very good. Go ahead.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhamulam Adashchaka Ashwatham Prahurabhayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Vedasya Vedasya Vedavid
No. Just
Urdhvam.
wait. You see and speak. Yastam Vedasa Vedavid. Again, recite the
Urdhamulam Adashchaka
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Ashwatham Prahurabhayam.
No.
Sri
Please see and
Bhagavan Vacha.
will pay attention, Prabhu.
Okay,
It is not so simple. You have to put your heart in it. You see and recite.
Sri
Okay.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhamulam Adashchaka Ashwatham Prahurabhayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavid Adhascha Urdhvam Prashastasya Tasya Shakha Guna Prabridha Vishaya Pravala Adhascha Mulani Anusantatani Karmanubandhini Manusya Loke न रूपमशेष तथा उपलभ्यते
Na rupam
नान्तो न च
Ashesha is not there. Pronunciation has to be correct. Is it Ashesha? Is it Na rupam Ashesha?
न रूपम
Na
न
rupam
रूपम अश्व इह तथा उपलभ्यते नान्त न च आदिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरुद्ध मूलम् असंगशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तथा पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूय तमेव च पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यथा प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी निर्माणमोहजितसङ्गदोष अध्यात्मनित्य विनिवृत्त कामा द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्त सुखदुःखसङ्गे गच्छन्ति अमूढा पदमव्ययं तत् न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्क न पावक यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम ममैवांश जीवलोके जीवभूत सनातन मनसस्थानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चापि उत्क्रमातीश्वर गृहीत्वा सम्माति वायुर्गन्ध निवासयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणम् इव रसनं घ्राणनम् एव च अधिष्ठाय
Grahanam.
मनश्चयं
Grahanam to accept.
विषयान्
The Rasanam Grahanam Evacha. Smelling power. Okay. My request is don't just
श्रोत्रं
parrot like chanting is not good. You must put your heart in understanding what Krishna is speaking. Then you will be able to relish. Otherwise, that relishment will never come. And parrot like chanting, it will be forgotten. So you have to enter into what Krishna is speaking in the verse. And so much effort is there. Every verse we are going so slowly. So these are all the different,
श्रोत्रं
these are all the different limbs, the senses. So Krishna is explaining. Okay, go ahead. Shotram Chakshu.
श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणम् एव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चयं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रमान्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जनं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढा नानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति गानचक्षुषा यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्ति आत्मनि अवस्थितं यतन्तोऽपि उत्कृतात्मानो नयनं पश्यन्ति अचेतसा यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयते अखिलं यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चग्नो तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयामि अहम् ओजसा पुष्णामि च औषधि सर्वसमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहम् आश्रिता प्राणापानसमायुक्त पचामि अन्नं चतुर्विधम् सर्वस्य च अहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्गानम् अपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत् वेद्विदेव च अहम् दाइमौ पुरुषो लोके क्षराक्षर एव च क्षर सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तम पुरुषस्तु अन्न परमात्मेति उदारित जो लोकत्रयमाविश्य विवर्ति अव्यय ईश्वर यस्माक्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि च उत्तम अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथित पुरुषोत्तम जो मामेवमसम्मूढ जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात्कृतकृतश्च भारत ओम तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भागवद्गीतासु योगशास्त्राणां ब्रह्मविद्यायां
Yoga
ओम
Shastra.
तत्सत् इति भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्याया योगशास्त्राणां श्रीकृष्णार्जुन संवादे पुरुषोत्तमयोगानां पंचदशाध्यायः। Hare Krishna.
Thank you. But more practice is required. See, there are two things. One is practice and the second is determination. A sadhaka means is a rigid practitioner. And secondly, his enthusiasm should not go down. So we are all, taking Krishna consciousness in a late phase of life. Early it is so easy. You see the daughter of Ravinder Madhusudan Prabhu and Priyanka Mataji. We went to her home just few days back on Saturday. She had written in such a beautiful handwriting all these shlokas in English. I was amazed. And her pronunciation is just perfect. Because that is what the Acharya is saying, Komar Acharit Pragya. At the age of 5, we should give the education. She is 7. But we are picking up when we are 27, 37 or 57. Very difficult to change, to transform. But by practice and determination, it is possible. So practice intensively. Here, I have shared many times the recitation. If you want, Devashish, why you are having your video of Devashish? This is another impersonalism. It is so much included in the heart. Every time the option is there, they will switch off the video. And switch off the video. If you switch on the video, your face does not give, a special smile to me. It's so foolish. And here Krishna is also saying, it will do benefit to you, not to me. But they want to deprive their own benefit. So switch off the video. So many times I have scolded, I don't want any student who does not have a video on, then there is no need to come. That means what? The connection will never be there. Impersonalism. That means there is something more important than this most confidential knowledge which Krishna is giving. They remain in the illusionary world of Maya. That is what Krishna is saying. Bhamyan sarva bhutani rantra yurani maya. Remain in the wandering state. You shared 15th chapter with Ravinder Prabhu. Devashish, I gave you the 15th chapter. बोलो हाँ ना?
Yes, तो सब भेज दिया हूँ.
आप सबको भेज दो. At least सब लोग डिसाइड करो. सुनो. सुनने मात्र से सही उच्चारण होने लग गया. अब तो केवल 2 दिन बचे हैं. तो at least सुनो. So thank you very much. Very, very important aspect of Bhagavad Gita which Krishna is speaking. So remember these 4 things. Think of Krishna, become his devotee, worship Krishna, and offer obeisances to him. It is in progression. Step 1, offer obeisances. By offering obeisances, our worship begins. Then Krishna says, become my devotee. How to become Krishna's devotee? By following his order, by following his instructions. And then we can think of Krishna. We can think of Krishna's interest. Then our life will be a mission to serve Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. And please register. Those who have not registered so far, Dolamani, Dayashil, please share the link. Those who are in Delhi NCR, please register for the festival. So far, only 19 registration have come. It's a shame. Put your heart in doing service. Those who are in Delhi NCR can register, those who are outstation. Pradeep, you will be back? Of course, you will be back. You also register. And from your institute, whoever you are inspiring, you can call them for that festival. We are having a youth festival, a grand youth festival for the 50th years of celebration of the deity installation of Shri Radha Parsaki. That is on 2nd of September, which is Sunday. So you are all invited to come and bring all those youngsters, those you are inspiring, those you would like to see to become Krishna conscious. So we will continue tomorrow. Can we have a class little early tomorrow? Tomorrow is 15th August. It is full holiday, national holiday. Let us have class from 7:30. We can have a deeper discussion. because the little time is left. We will discuss this verse and we'll also discuss the next verse. At least we'll discuss both the verses tomorrow. And then in the next 2 days, we'll complete. Okay, so give the invitation tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. instead of 8. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. God Prema.